Hello and welcome to today's Python tutorial. Today we are going to talk about functions in Python. What are functions? So functions are pieces of code, blocks of code, or sets of instructions that you make to do what you normally repeat, to make life easier for you. So now we have three types of functions. The first one is built-in functions in Python. You already know a lot of them, I guess. So the first one is print. This is the most famous one, the most well-known one, print function. It just prints out something on the console. Now print function has, well, the name print followed by parentheses. And inside the parentheses, we need to give it arguments. So what we write here is called an argument, like hello there. If I run this, I get hello there here. So this argument can also be a number, an integer, and it works. We have also some other functions, built-in function in Python. For example, len, for the length of something, like length of a list. If I have 1, 2, 3. If I run this, I get 3 because we have 3 items here, and you see, so 1, 2, 3 items. Or I can say sum, which is going to go through this iterable, this list, and adds them up. So it should give me like 6. 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 plus 3 is 6. I can have max function, which gives me the highest number in the list, which is 3. Or min function, which gives me the lowest number, and which is 1. So these are all built-in function in Python. That is, they start with a name, then parentheses, and the arguments in there. But not all the functions that we need are built in, so we need to define them ourselves. To define a function ourselves, we start with the keyword def, which is for define, then give a function a name, for example, total, and followed by parentheses. And then after parentheses, we need to have colons. So if you press enter, you see that there is indentation here, one tab. It means whatever you write here belongs to the function. Let's just print something now. Let's just print this is total. Now, if I run the program, do you think this will be printed out? It won't, because we haven't called the function. There is another step. You just saw that whenever you print something like this, print hello there, and you run it, it gets printed out. Why? Because you are calling the function that has been defined in Python before. So for this, it's also the same. We need to call total, this function that we defined. So unless you call it, it's not going to run. So you call it, now it says, okay, I want this to run. If I run, I get this is total. That is whatever the result of this function is. Now another thing is that instead of print, sometimes we want to return some value instead of printing something. That is, we want some operations to be done, and then we get some value out of something. For example, we want value like, I don't know, 2 by 2, for instance. Now, if I run this, I won't get anything here because I'm not printing out. But now return 4. 4 is stored, the value is stored in total. So total equals 4 now. If I print total, I should see 4. And I do. So returns the value and stops the function. So whatever happens after the function, like here, is not going to be executed. So if I say hello here, and if I run, nothing's going to happen. You see, there is no hello because it gets to the return keyword and it says, okay, that's it. This is the end of the function. Now, functions can also take parameters. So I just talked about arguments. Now, when you define a function, you can have parameters inside parentheses, or no, you can leave it out, just like I did. Let's say we need one number called n to be here, and let's return the result of n by 2. Now this is called a parameter because I've just put it here inside the parentheses while defining the function. Now the same thing will be called an argument when I'm using it here. So the value that I give it here will be called an argument, like for example 5. So what's going to happen when I print this? 5 would be n, and 5 would be multiplied by 2, and it would be returned. So if I run, I should get 10. You see? What if I give it two numbers like 5 and 5? What happens now? If I run, you see there's an error which says total takes one positional argument, but two were given, so I cannot have more than one. These are called required arguments. If I specify exactly one here, it means I only need one. I can't leave it blank. It would give me another error, missing one required positional argument. So this is what required argument is about. Now what about default arguments? So let's just paste it here. What about default arguments? Sometimes you just want to have some default arguments, that is, you leave the name of the country to be the Netherlands unless someone wants to change it. So I can say, let's say country, or let's say C for country, equals Netherlands, and here I would say return with f string, return my country is, and inside curly brackets we say C, and we close it off here. So f string is basically when you want to insert some variables inside a string, you can format it like this with f strings. So it would be my country is C. C is whatever people input or whatever there is already. Now if I print total, let's run this. My country is the Netherlands, but I can also say is Germany. Now if I run it, my country is Germany now. So this is going to be default. If you don't give it any value, it wouldn't throw an error. It would take it for granted that the country is the Netherlands, unless specified otherwise that the country is something else. Then it would change, like Spain, my country is Spain. So these are default arguments. Now keyword arguments. Well, keyword arguments are when, let me show you what I mean. Let's have two parameters here, A and B, and let's say that we want to return the result of A minus B. Now if I provide two arguments here like 10 and 5, you already know what happens. I would get 5, right? Because it says 10 is for A and 5 is for B, and then 10 minus 5 is 5. But what if I'm not sure about the order of A and B, and I want to say A is 5 and B is 10. So it doesn't matter now if I use it here or I put it here. Now the order doesn't matter, because I know A is going to be 5 anyways and B is going to be 10 anyways. So this way 5 minus 10 would be minus 5, you see? So it would not follow the same order exactly. It would look at the argument, the keyword, and say, oh, it's B. So 10 is going to be B and A is going to be 5. So this is what I mean by keyword arguments. Now args and kwargs, or keyword args, this is also very interesting. There are times that you don't know how many parameters you want to have. For example, here we know that we have only 2 arguments. But what if I want to have more arguments? Like, I don't know, I want to subtract 3 and 4 and 5 and 10, but I'm not sure how many I'm going to have. In that sense, we give it some arbitrary args, that is, there's an asterisk and args. I can also say x or y or c or whatever, doesn't matter, as long as there is one asterisk. But the convention is to use args. And here I can say, for instance, sum, I want to, let's say, sum everything, sum args. So it would give me the sum of everything that goes in there, doesn't matter how many arguments. So now let's say I have 5 and 10 and 15. If I run this, I get 30. So this is 15 and 15 is 30. Or I can say 20 more, it should give me 50 now. And it is. So now it doesn't matter how many arguments you have, because you have specified with one asterisk. Now what if I change args into x? Then here I should also say x. Does it work again? You see, it still works. So it doesn't matter. It's just a convention to use the word args. As long as there is one asterisk, it works. But what is the type of x now? So if I want to see what is the type of x, it gives me a tuple, and I'm going to tell you how. So if I say return type of x. Now if I see class tuple or tuple. So I have a video on tuples and how to work with them. So tuples are basically like data type in Python, which you use parentheses to have them, like 2, 3, 4, something like that is a tuple, and they cannot be easily changed or modified. So args turn whatever goes in into a tuple and then do those things on them. Now another thing is keyword. Let's say variable arguments or something like that, which are kwargs, and they are specified with 2 asterisks. Now let's have the same function down here, and let's just say add another one and say kwargs, since they are the convention. So kwargs, and if I run this, I should get a dictionary. So kwargs give us back a dictionary. That is what they are. So they are used for key value pairs. That is, let me show you one example. Now for because I just said that they return dictionaries, so we can do whatever we do with dictionaries on them. So let's just go over this like this. So I would say I'm going to have a for loop inside this function. So like for, let's say for key value in kwargs dot items. So this is basically for dictionaries. I'm unpacking it. That is, I'm going to say for the key and for the value in items in a dictionary. This is how you go through a dictionary to take the key or take the value. You can also say for I and N or X and Y, doesn't matter, because you're unpacking them. So for kwargs, for this, whatever it is, and items, that is the pairs. Now for these, I want to return something. I want to, or let's say print something like f string again, and I would say that I don't know, key is, and then here like value, something as simple as that. And Yeah, this is going to be what I'm, yeah, okay. Okay, and now I'm going to, inside this function, which is total, I'm going to have several arguments. For example, name is going to be equal to John. Then next one, I don't know, age is going to be 35, and job is going to be teacher. Now what happens if I run this? Let's see. Name is John, age is 35, and job is teacher. So what happened now? So it went through the dictionary. Well, first of all, it turned this into a dictionary, because I told you kwargs, these are dictionaries. It turned it into a dictionary. This is the key, this is the value. Key, value, key, value. Then we went through this dictionary to get the keys and the values in the items. So items gives us this. This is one item, and one item. And inside every item, we call this one key, we call this one value. And then we printed them out. So we said key, this one is this. The name is John, age is 35, job is teacher. So this is what kwargs are. And remember, again, you can name it whatever you want, like X. And this is still going to work. If I say, see, still works. So what is important is a double asterisk here. And also knowing that this will give us a dictionary. So we can do whatever we do to a dictionary here. Now the last important point about functions are anonymous functions. So anonymous functions in Python are called lambda. So these are called lambda functions. And they don't have any names. So you just saw that to have a function, I defined it, I give it a name like total, and then here I say, for example, return something or print hello, something like that. Or I can also have n plus 2 and give it n here. And then if I have to call it, so I would say total, let's say 4, and it should give me 6 here, right? So this is what we did with functions. But these functions had names, so they were not anonymous. Now to make anonymous functions, we can make a variable first. Let's just call it t, and then equals. And we say lambda, so we start with, lambda, and then we would just do what we did here. So lambda, so we have an n here, right? So we say n, and then we have these colons, so we say colon, and the expression goes here, n plus 2, right? So n plus 2. Now this is exactly the same thing. So for running it, I would say t, which is the name now of this variable, and inside parentheses I give it, for example, 5. So let me comment these out. If I run this, I should get yeah, oh, I should print this, and if I run this, I should get 7. So lambdas are basically anonymous single line functions with only one expression, return expression. So this is the return part. So it's basically something like that, return. And this is going to be like the argument here. And it's only in one line. So they're really useful, especially when you use them with map functions, or with filter function, or with reduce. I have a tutorial on using map and filter and lambda in more detail, so you can refer to that one. Okay, I think that was basically it. So yeah, thank you very much for listening and watching.